If you look at the challenge of retrogression, it looks big, but if you compare it to the whole process you've gone through and opportunity that lies ahead of you, the whole problem of retrogression is just minuscule. So, dealing with visa retrogression, easily the most topical issue among internationally educated nurses looking to migrate to the US is the topic of visa retrogression. And it does make sense that once people have passed their NCLEX exams, the next thing that they are looking for is to move to the US. And so any impediment that is put in the way or that seeks to stand in the way between them getting their visa and migrating to the US becomes very annoying, especially when you don't know a date or you don't have an end in sight to the problem. But I just figured out that there is just a way to deal with this whole visa retrogression menace. And if you are going through visa retrogression, just understand that there are about 10,000 more nurses who are going through this visa retrogression. People from the UK, nurses from countries in Africa like Kenya, Ghana, and Nigeria are also going through the visa retrogression. So it's not just you. And also, the visa retrogression does not mean a complete stop in the processing of visas. It's just like an indefinite delay that has become an albatross around the neck of nurses looking to migrate. And so according to the American Association of International Health Recruitment, 10,000 nurses are getting delayed because of visa retrogression. Now, as an individual, even though you cannot force the state department to expedite this process, as an individual, there's something you can do while you wait. I think it was Joyce Meyer who said that waiting is not just about staying and doing nothing, but what you do while you wait is a sign of your patience. And so, I haven't been through retrogression, but I know that there are a lot of things you can do while you wait. And I'm saying this on the benefit of someone who has moved to the US, and I wish there were some things I did before coming here. And so I'm just trying to move you through or go through the things that I wish I did before moving to the US with you while you wait, so that your wait period wouldn't be wasted. Oh, okay, so that your waiting period wouldn't be wasted. I think that's an interesting alliteration. But so while you wait, the first thing I think you should do is to learn a skill. Most of you who watch my videos know that I always like to keep a low haircut, but this time my hair is growing, and the simple reason is because the guys who give me my haircut, the barbers, they have increased their prices. I mean, I go to this barbering salon, and the guy takes about 17 minutes to finish my hair. And in 17 minutes, he charges me well over $50 for the haircut. And I have to do this every 2 weeks. I mean, $50 for a 17-minute haircut, that's more than I get on an hourly basis as a nurse. And so I'm not going to continue doing that for you. But if I was in a situation to prepare and move to the US or wherever I'm going, whether I'm moving to the UK or even to Canada, I'll learn a skill. And one of the important skills I'll learn is being able to cut people's hair, being a barber. I mean, that's a no-brainer. It's such an important skill. And if you're a lady, learning skills like hairdressing is even more important, because people I know, when my wife used to braid her hair here, it was like she had to pay well over sometimes $300 and $400 to get a hair braid done. And a lot of my colleague nurses friends complain about the same thing, because it is absolutely expensive, exorbitant to braid your hair. So if you are good at it, if it's a skill you learn and you're good at it, instead of waiting around and being disgruntled about the fact that this wait is happening, which you cannot really do anything about, unfortunately, you can use the time to learn to cut people's hair. And you can do that as a good side hustle, so that you don't have to pick up extra shifts once you come here. You get people, you build clientele, and you start making a lot of money. The next thing is that you can learn data science. Now, there are a lot of online skills you can learn, but I have fished out these particular ones, data science, because it leads to you becoming a good health informatician. Now, if you go into Indeed and you type the job health informatician or informatics nurse, you get 1,000 or more of hospitals looking for nurse informaticians or health informaticians. And the reason is simple. A lot of these hospitals are moving into online systems of documentation. And so they need nurses who can, one, observe trends in documentation errors, or the kind of errors that people normally make when they're doing documentations, the kind of medications people are using, supply monitoring, and stuff like that. They are even going into online observation of patients, where there's a patient in a ward and they are monitored virtually by nurses. All these things can be done by nurses who have some IT backgrounds, and you don't have to pay for it. You go to websites like Coursera, EDX, Skillshare, Code Academy. I'll link all of them down in the description for your pleasure so that you can go through it at the time when you want to. Okay, so that you can peruse them. That's the word I was looking for. You can learn all these skills. Data science, it's like the most important thing now. Data analytics. You can become a good health informatics nurse. There are universities like WGU and a lot of those other universities that are offering courses in data science and health informatics, but they will not pay you as much as, but they are not as free as these ones. They are more expensive than these ones, sorry. And so what's going to happen is that if you go onto these websites, you can learn data science. Some of them you need to learn it in 3 weeks, in 3 months or 6 months. Some of them even take up to a year. But considering that some people's visa retrogression has taken over 2 years and 3 years, you can get a whole bachelor's degree or a whole master's degree in those areas. And if there's one that I'll recommend, it is data science, because take it from me, guys, the healthcare system is becoming more and more digitized. It's becoming more and more oriented to computing and informatics. So you will do yourself a lot of favor if you focus on learning one of these skills. For someone like me, who mathematics is something I absolutely hate, I will not go into this. But for those of you who IT and statistics is music to you, absolutely consider going into this. Okay. Now, I put here more skills. That's another thing you can do. You can absolutely learn more skills. Okay, like one of the skills you can learn is sewing. If you've come across this fashion brand or this scrubs brand, Fakes, they make scrubs for nurses, and it looks like in the US, scrubs being worn to work is a big deal because nurses wear scrubs, doctors wear scrubs, pharmacists even wear scrubs, lab techs, phlebotomists. Everybody in the US is wearing scrubs, and so scrubs are a huge part of the healthcare industry, which is one of the largest healthcare industries. And so you have this humongous institutions or companies or corporations that are created or established on the back of creating scrubs. Now, you cannot be a big fish, but you can always find a way to play and swim with the sharks without getting eaten alive. And one of the things you can do is to learn to sew and make scrubs for nurses or doctors or whoever. I mean, I used to make a lot of scrubs back in the day when I was in Ghana. I made a lot of money from scrubs when COVID hit. But when I came here, I had to put a pause on that because I found other interests. But sewing is one of the things you can do, especially if you're from Africa, because there are a lot of people who are in these areas and they still want to be able to sew, to wear their African clothes, but they cannot get tailors who are going to make them here. So they have to ship them from, say, Nigeria or Ghana whenever they make their clothes. And if you are able to make that, to learn to sew, you can make scrubs and it can become a lot of money for you on the side. I mean, I have friends who have to pay like $60 for a pair of trousers or a pair of jeans to be altered for them, which is something that's done in less than 30 minutes. And they have always to go and scout for tailors who will do these things for them. And so if you are able to learn to sew, especially if you're a lady or even a man, okay, you can learn to sew and you're going to make so much money. The next one is plumbing. I have a friend, one of my colleague nurses that I worked with in a certain hospital here in the US. Now, this friend and the wife, they buy homes and they refurbish the homes. So they can buy a home that is dilapidated, and instead of buying the home for, say, $300,000, they could end up getting the home for like $100,000. But then they have to deal with the problem of having to fix everything in the house, like plumbing, tiling, ceiling works, and so on and so forth. This nurse of mine, he is good with tiling. So all he needs to do is to find someone who does the plumbing for him, and he does the floor work. But if he is good with plumbing, he can hire someone to do the floor work while he does the plumbing. And plumbing is a big deal here because the water systems, electrical systems, the sinks, the bathrooms, they all go through this kind of systems. And so if you can devote your time to learning any of these skills like plumbing, tiling, floor work, even carpentry, or stuff like that, it's going to serve you in the long run because you'll be a nurse and you have your own construction company. One of the richest people I know who lives in the US, I mean, as a friend, he is into construction, and when he started, he was a teacher, but he learned to do the floor works of buildings. And this friend went on to start his own construction company, and he became so wealthy. And so plumbing is just like one of them. I mean, there are so many other skills. Like I'm saying, it's not just plumbing. Yeah, you can learn things like tiling and other things. I've also put auto mechanics here. If you know anything about the US, the public transport system here is quite poor, and so everybody has to drive. And because everybody has a car, everybody's car will need a mechanic at some point in time. And I just pray against it, because once you need a mechanic, you are going to start coughing about $200 or $300 just for the mechanic to go and see what is wrong with your car. And it costs so much money. And I know a lot of people who work 9 to 5 jobs, but they have also a second job of fixing people's cars. And that's one of the important skills you can learn. Now, the fourth one is to get a bachelor's degree or a master's degree online. Now, hear me out. If you want to get a bachelor's degree in the US, it's going to cost you more than getting a bachelor's degree in somewhere like the UK or even Ghana or the Philippines or wherever you're coming from. So if you have just a diploma and you have the chance to get a bachelor's degree, which is going to take you like about a year, I would definitely encourage you to go ahead and get the bachelor's degree or even an online master's degree, so that even when you are employed to the US or the UK, you can still continue doing your online master's degree. And the reason is simple. Once you get here, you want to focus on working. You are going to be swamped in this whole cycle of working so many hours to either pay your debts or to send money back home or to establish your trust fund, which is going to teach you how to create or raise your first $1 million or your first $100,000 as a nurse in a trust fund. And so you just want to keep working, and you wouldn't have time for some of these programs. And even if you are going to have time for it, it's going to cost you so much. And that takes me back to the skill we're talking about. One of the other skills you can learn is to learn the skill of managing your personal finances. So you can use the time to learn your bachelor's degree or get a master's degree, or learn how to become well-versed in your personal finances. Now, it's important because understanding things like how the tax system works in the US, learning how to create a portfolio of investment so that you can invest your earnings into something like your 401k, which is very beneficial, so that when you want to buy a home, you can rely on your savings in your 401k to buy a home, or you want to create a Roth IRA, like an independent retirement account, so that you're able to get savings or investment growing without tax deductions. All these things are important, but most nurses do not know how to do these things. But if you spend the time learning a skill, once again, you can go onto websites like Coursera, EDX, and all the ones I've spoken about to learn how to manage your personal finances for free. You don't have to pay anybody to learn it, and you become very good at it. You learn how to manage your finances, and it's one of the most important things you can do, guys. The last but one thing I'll talk about is that once you're going through this process, have in mind that no matter what happens, there's a delay in the visa process. It's not like a cancellation of your journey or your dream to move to the US or wherever you want to go to. So it's easy to feel frustrated, but I will tell you not to despair, but continue studying and continue doing what you need to do. Because if you look at the challenge of retrogression, it looks big, but if you compare it to the whole process you've gone through and opportunity that lies ahead of you, the whole problem of retrogression is just minuscule. It's nothing really compared to the opportunity that awaits you. So you might as well keep hope alive. And the very last thing, which is an afterthought, but I think it's quite important, is that you research about your state of choice. So some of you have heard California pays well and you want to go to California, but you cannot just migrate to California because their nursing requirements is quite different, because some of them require lab work and some other things that you may not get in your country of training. So you probably have to find out about that so that you don't worry yourself about wanting to go to California right out of the gate. Or maybe you want to go to Ohio, but Ohio is a very tiny state and they have some limitations, or it's easy to get a home in Ohio as compared to a state like, say, Washington, where the home prices are overly inflated because of the presence of tech companies like Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, who earn so much money, and it makes the nurses' earnings very tiny and makes it difficult for nurses to buy homes. So you want to take time and learn about the state you want to go to, and I believe that that's going to help you. But at the risk of talking too much, I think I should just end this video. Just remember to subscribe to the channel, and if you have any questions, once again, send them to YouTube at manasetete.com, or you can hit me up on Twitter, also known as X. But I want to say thanks for watching. I hope this video has helped you in a way. Like the video and let's continue in the chat. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.